Okay, our learning target today is that you will multiply decimal fractions by multi-digit whole numbers through the conversion to a whole number problem and reasoning about the placement of the decimal. So basically what that means is we're going to be multiplying a decimal times a whole number, and we're going to take the decimal and make it into a whole number so that we're multiplying two whole numbers, but then we need to be able to reason about where does our decimal belong. So let's take a look at a problem. So our problem here says 8 2600 times 128. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to estimate our answer so that we can get a good idea of where we should end up. And so 8 2600, so I'm going to round that to 8. And 128 is going to round to 100. And 8 times 100 is 800. So my answer should be somewhere around that. It will probably be a little bit more because I rounded down both times. I left my numbers lower than what they actually are. So that means that our answer is probably going to be a little more than 800. So let's take a look. First step is to rename 8 and 2600ths using only the unit of hundredths. And when I do that, I have 826 hundredths. Then I'm going to decompose 826 hundredths into expanded form along the length of our rectangle. So that's right here on our area model. So I'm going to have 800, 20, and 6 hundredths. My next step is to, along the side of my rectangle, or my area model, I want to make 128 whole units. So I have 100, 20, and 8. I'm going to divide my box into the different sections so that now I can start multiplying. So I have 800 times 8 equals 6,400. 20 times 8 is equal to 160, and 6 times 8 is equal to 48. Then I'm going to take 800 times 20, and that is equal to 16000, so 16,000. 20 times 20 is equal to 400. And 6 times 20 is equal to 120. Now I'm looking at 800 times 100, and that is equal to 80,000. 100 times 20 is equal to 2,000. And 6 times 100 is equal to 600. Now I need to add up my partial products. When I add 6,400 plus 160 plus 48, I end up with 6,608. When I add 16,000 plus 400 plus 120, that equals to 16,520. And last, I'm going to add 80,000 plus 2,000 plus 600, and that equals to 82,600. Now I'm going to add those up, and I end up with 105,728 hundredths. And what that means is that I need to put my decimal into the correct position, and I will end up with 1,057 and 28 hundredths. Okay, so I'm going to erase this area model so that we'll have some room to do our standard algorithm. And I'm going to work that right here. I'm going to have 8 and 26 hundredths times 128 Start out with my ones place, and I have 6 times 8 is 48. 8 times 2 is 16, plus 4 more is 20. 8 times 8 is 64, plus 2 more is 66. Now I have to drop my 0 because I'm moving over to my tens place. 2 times 6 is 12. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 more is 5. And 2 times 8 is 16. My third step is to move over to my hundreds place. So I need to have a 0 in my ones and a 0 in my tens place. Now I'm looking at 1 times 6 is 6, 1 times 2 is 2, and 1 times 8 is 8. I add those up. And again, I had hundredths in my problem, so I should have hundredths in my answer, and I end up with the same product for both the area model and my standard algorithm. Okay, so let's take a look at another one. Now I have 82 and 51 hundredths times 63. So again, I'm going to start with my estimate. I have 83, and I'm going to multiply that times 60. 3 times 6 is 18. 8 times 6 is 48, plus 1 more is 49. And then I have my 0. And so I should end up with a product somewhere around 4,980. I'm going to start my first step, rename 82 and 51 hundredths using only the unit of hundredths. And I will have 8,251 hundredths. And I'm going to multiply that times 63. First, I want to start decomposing that 8,251 hundredths into expanded form along the length of our rectangle. So I have 8,250 and 1. And I'm multiplying that by 60 and 3. When I start multiplying, I have 8,000 times 3, and that gives me 24,000. 200 times 3 equals 600. 50 times 3 equals 150. And 1 times 3 equals 3. Now I move to my next row. 8,000 times 60 is equal to 480,000. 200 times 60 is equal to 12,000. 50 times 60 is equal to 3,000. And 1 times 60 is equal to 60. My first partial product is equal to 24,753. And then when I add up for my second partial product, that will equal to 495,060. And when I add those two together to find my final product, I end up with 519,813. But now I have to remember my unit is hundredths, and I need to go back and put those hundredths in as my unit here. So I'm going to count over 2 place value positions, and my answer is 5,198 and 13 hundredths. Okay, so let's take a look at that in the standard algorithm. Again, I need to erase this. so that I'll have some space to write it. Okay, I'm starting out with 8,251 hundredths, and I'm multiplying that times 63. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 more is 7. And 3 times 8 is 24. Now I'm moving over to my tens place. So I place a 0 in my ones position, and I have 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 5 is 30. 6 times 2 is 12, plus 3 more is 15. And 6 times 8 is 48, plus 1 more is 49. I'm going to add those up. And then my unit is hundredths, so I need to place my decimal in the hundredths position, and I end up with 5,198 and 13 hundredths. Okay, now we're back to our problem of the day. Problem of the day says a spool of ribbon holds 6 75 hundredths meters. A craft club buys 21 spools. Part A, what is the total cost if the ribbon sells for $2 per meter, and if the club uses 76 54 hundredths meters to complete a project, how much ribbon will be left? So let's start out drawing a tape diagram to help us set up this problem. We have spools of ribbon, and each spool of ribbon has 6 75 hundredths meters, and we buy 21 spools. So to find out how much ribbon we buy in all, how many meters we buy in all, we're going to multiply 6 75 hundredths times 21. So let's make that into 675 hundredths times 21. And I end up with 141 75 hundredths meters. Okay, but that's not what it's asking me. And now it wants me to find out if each meter is $2 and I've bought 141 75 hundredths meters, then how much did I pay for the ribbon? So now I need to take my 141 hundredths and multiply that by 2. So 5 times 2 is 10. That's 15. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 more is 3. 4 times 2 is 8, and 2 times 1 is 2. So I end up with $283.50. And now we want to know if the club uses 76 54 hundredths meters to complete a project, how much ribbon will be left. So if this is what they bought altogether, the 141 75 hundredths meters, and they used 76 54 hundredths meters, I need to take that out by subtracting. And I end up with 65 21 hundredths meters left. Ran out of space to be able to write my statement, but my statement should be that the total cost of the ribbon is $283.50, and after using 76 54 hundredths meters of ribbon for their project, the club will have 65 21 hundredths meters of ribbon left. Okay, so let's go practice a few of these problems. You got it, guys. So let's make sure we're asking for help if you need it. Get with a partner who can work with you to help you learn how to master this skill.